Hi, I wanted to go over tonight's homework, which is homework 20, and it has what we call a between type and. And so this is an example of a between type and right here. So you can read this. So this is red. All numbers that are greater than or equal to -3 and all numbers that are less than 4. So you can see this part of it, right? And notice how I use the same color. All numbers less than 4. And then if you use it Hebrew style and you read it backwards, so if you read it going the other direction, remember Hebrew is where they read it going this direction. So that's all. N is greater than or equal to -3, and also N is less than 4. So that's how you would read that sentence. And you can also read that as a between sentence. So let me go back and rewrite that. So you can also read this. So this is also known as a between statement because it basically just means numbers that are between. So numbers that are between -3 and 4. So it's just numbers that are between -3 and 4. So there's -3, there's -4. So this should be a solid circle because it has an equal to symbol underneath it. This one should be an open circle on this end. And then all the numbers that are between, right? Because all the numbers that are less than 4, but yet, and at the same time, all the numbers that are greater than -3. So it's the numbers that are between. So that's how you graph that. So solve and graph. So we're basically just solving two inequalities simultaneously. If I asked you to solve that inequality, wouldn't you add both 2 to both sides, right? What if I asked you to solve this inequality? Wouldn't you add 2 to both sides? So we basically are solving the two inequalities simultaneously. Now, if you watch another YouTube video, it might ask you to rewrite it as 5x minus 2 is less or equal to 13, and then and 5x minus 2 is greater or equal to -20, and then solve those two separately. But I will not give you credit for breaking it apart into two inequalities because we want you to learn how to solve a between style. So this is a between type of compound and sentence, and we want you to learn how to solve it without separating it. So once again, you might find it easier to emphasize that we are solving two simultaneously. So you can think of this as being the end and this being the other end, and then you have the middle. And we're trying to get x in the middle to be by itself. So wouldn't we add 2? Right? Don't you want to undo subtracting 2 by adding 2? So that means you have to add 2 to the other side because you're solving that one. And then at the same time, you're also solving this one. So we could say whatever you do to the middle, so when you add 2 to the middle, you got to make sure you add 2 to both ends because you're solving two inequalities, right? You're solving two inequalities simultaneously. So what does that give you? Doesn't that give us -18 on this end? Doesn't that zero out and leave a 5x in the middle? And 13 plus 2 is 15 on the other end. Then wouldn't we undo multiplying by 5 by dividing by 5 to the middle? Therefore, don't we also have to divide 5 to this inequality on the other side? And don't we have to divide 5 to this inequality? So whatever you do to the middle, you must do to both ends. So that gives us an x in the middle. 15 divided by 3, 5 is 3 on the end. And -18 divided by 5 is -18 fifths. That doesn't go in evenly. So our final answer is going to be, let's see, 5 goes into 18. 3 times 5 is 15. So that would be -3 3/5. And 3. And it's all the numbers that are in between, right? That's what this means. This means all the numbers that are in between negative 18 fifths, and 3. So all the numbers that are between. And don't we have an equal to symbol underneath there? So doesn't that have to be solid? Equal to, so doesn't that have to be solid? And if you don't know how to change, if you forgot how to change an improper fraction to a mixed number, if you want, you can just leave it as negative 18 over fifths if you're struggling with that. Okay, let's look at this one. So again, if it helps, you might want to use a highlighter or put a squiggly line to emphasize we are solving two inequalities simultaneously. So don't we have to undo adding one by subtracting one? Therefore, we have to do it to the other to each of the sides of the inequality. So whatever you do to the middle, you have to do to both ends because, again, we're solving this inequality, and then we're solving this inequality. So we're basically just solving two inequalities simultaneously. So negative 4 is less than that, zero's out. And 5 subtract 1 is 4. Then don't we undo dividing by 2 by multiplying by 2? So that means all numbers that are between negative 8 and 4, and it should be open circles, and you should have the shaded of the numbers between, because this means numbers between negative 8 and 4. Also can be said all the numbers less than 4 and all the numbers that are greater than negative 8. So you can also read it that way. I like the between way of reading it. So we have this one. Don't we have to undo the dividing by 3 first? By multiplying by 3, so we have to do it to both ends. Again, because we are solving two inequalities simultaneously. So put 1 right there. Doesn't that cancel out and leave you just n minus 5 inside the middle? 6 on this end, and 3 times 1 is 3. Then can't we undo subtracting 5 by adding 5? And again, we are solving two of them simultaneously. And we're solving this one. So again, whatever you do to the middle, you have to do to both ends. And doesn't that give us all numbers less than 11 but greater than 8? All the numbers that are less than 11 but greater than 8. In other words, all the numbers that are between 8 and 11. And it should be an open circle. So that's how you do the between style of ands, which you have some of those on tonight's homework. Okay, that's it.